of pressure does that put you under? I mean, because all these roles are like a spotlight role in your life, like with the banking, everybody's and then you moved up into the politics, then you moved now into this position that you are. And people are like looking up to you, and you have to like be a role model. What is that like for you?
I think the biggest thing that I have to remind myself is where I came from. I didn't come from much. As I said, my parents had me very young. They were both 16 years old. I still remember, my parents deciding whether they would buy groceries or they would pay the electric bill. And I think that level of humility is important, and that experience allows me to empathize with people who are going through challenging times. And so any position that you have, as human nature, we have the ability to, kind of get used to the influence, get used to the power, and use it to our benefit. But what I try to do is I try to remember where I came from and realize that God has a plan for me, and He's put me in this place for a purpose. And I am to remember where I came from so that I can help those who are in the positions that I was in the past. And really what it is a testament to is no matter where you came from or your life circumstances, if you put your heart in it and you work hard, there will be rewards. The challenges can be tough, but if you put your heart in it and you work hard, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Well, good morning. I'm Steven Wright, and I have the distinct honor and privilege to serve as the Public Information Officer for the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office.
My first question, tell everybody what that is and what are your duties?
So a public information officer for a government or sheriff's office or any type of role pretty much is similar in that what we are is we are the spokesperson for that specific entity. In my specific role as the public information officer for the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office, I handle all the external communications of our office with the public and with the media. So that includes social media, that includes all of our press releases that go out, that includes any type of public events that we do. I'm the one that puts that information out. It includes our community engagement division. When they are promoting events, I will help them craft the message so that we can let the public know about that. And I also handle what we call FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act. We have to comply with those. There are statutory timelines that we have to comply with for FOIA. And so I handle all of those types of things within the office as well.
How did you get into this? You got to go take us back.
So it's really a God thing. When I got out of college, I got a job at a bank. I did that for about 5 years. I worked as a loan officer, then became a mortgage loan officer, and then I got a job offer at a public affairs firm who's owned by a person here in Summerville. And in that position, I worked for candidates and causes all across the country. And I really got to learn all about public affairs, communications, how to help a client in a rapid response type situation or crisis communication. I did that for about 4 years. And when Sheriff Richardson was elected, he asked if I would come on his team, as he wanted to really enhance the communications of the office to better and more strongly engage the community. So it really was a God thing. It wasn't a position that I was looking for. It wasn't something that I was planning on. And since that time, it's truly been an honor to see the reforms that we put in place and the way in which the community is reacting to the messages that we put out.
Okay, but you've been involved in a lot of things. You want to take us back to that, like, politics, and kind of go back because, how did that help, Stephen, like where you are now, being in the public? Because it seems like ever since you've been young, you've been involved in the public.
Sure. So my great-grandmother, she had great influence on my life, and I think about her every single day. My parents, they had me when they were very young, and while they were working more than one job, my grandmother would step in and assist where needed or help in any way she could. And one of her neighbors was a friend of mine, and he was running for county council when I was just in 4th grade. And I was very interested in the political process. I was interested in finding out how it worked, how it operated, and what I could do to help. And he actually gave me some flyers to go knock on doors. And I went and knocked on doors in 4th grade. A couple of years go past, of course, as a 4th grader, who else is interested in politics? Not that many people. But when I was a sophomore in high school, I got connected with former state representative Chris Murphy. and he offered me my first paid job in politics, where I would knock on doors, I'd put out signs, I'd help them organize different events, help with volunteering and all those types of things. And from that point forward, I just worked on campaigns, mostly in a volunteer capacity every cycle. And that's ultimately what allowed me to understand that politics at that time in my life was a passion. It was something that excited me. I saw that politics mattered, and the people we elect matter because they shape public policy. They shape the priorities of our community, our state, our country. And from that point forward, I worked for candidates, in many cycles. And then when I was hired on at my former job, Push Digital Group, I worked for candidates and causes all across the country. I had the honor to work for United States senators and governors and congressmen and even local elected officials. And it really taught me a lot about the entire process. It taught me about the effect social media has and the way in which we message and the different strategies that you can deploy to help your clients and to really get the message through, because we're in a very digital environment these days. Most everybody gets their message and their information from digital platforms. And so that's ultimately kind of what led me to where I am today.
Do you ever get like jittery or nervous when you got to get up and speak in front of all these people?
Absolutely. I think no matter how long you do this, I think you still get nervous. In my role right now, we are, a lot of times when I'm speaking to the media, it's after a critical incident. And in that context, it's very important that we share the information that we know to be true at that time. We don't want to share anything that could compromise a criminal investigation. We don't want to share anything that could break a notification requirement where we're trying to notify victims, their families. And so that definitely can be nerve-wracking at times, but that's why I try my best to share as much information as I can without compromising anything. And I think no matter how long you've been in this business, you will still get nervous, regardless of your experience or the time in it.
Didn't you play a role, though, in the politics? You were like a leader or a chairperson or something like that, I read?
Yeah, so in 2021, I decided to run for Dorchester County Republican Party chairman. And the reason I ran at the time is I felt that, our county and our nation was kind of at a crossroads, and we needed a new generation of leadership to kind of take the party into the future. And so I ran. I was successful and won. And over the course of those 4 years, we accomplished a lot of great things. We raised a lot of money for our candidates, and it really kind of gave me even more experience. People that serve as chairman in political parties, you're really challenged. You're dealing with a very complicated environment sometimes. You have to lead people. You have to bring people together. You have to really learn how to diffuse certain situations. But the main reason I ran is I believe, number one, I wanted to build a big tent party where everybody felt welcome. And number two, I wanted to create an apparatus that would engage our elected officials, let them know our thoughts on certain issues, but also help them when they were running for election in the general election.
How would you describe yourself as a person?
Well, I'm a husband first and foremost. I'm a Christ follower. Being a Christ follower is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. If it were easy, why would we need God? But as a person, what I try to do is I try to prioritize family. I try to prioritize, time with my family. In this job that I'm in now, you can get called out in the middle of the night. And I think it's important to remember that family comes first. Sheriff Richardson is a huge family person, and he wants us to remember that we are to be there with our families. But as a person, I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have. I love being in the outdoors. I love going on trips when I can. I love spending time with family. I have, 2 nieces and 1 nephew. And I hope one day that I'll be blessed enough to be a father myself and really teach my children about the experiences that I came from so that they can appreciate the life that they'll have in the future.
Steven, let's talk about difficulties. What are some of those challenges in the role that you're playing right now?
The biggest difficulty that I think I face is we live in a society where people want instant information. You can Google, a question, or you can use AI for a question, and you're going to get an instant response. You're going to get an instant answer. And in my world, unfortunately, we're not able to share all the information at one time. It might be because we don't want to compromise an investigation. And so sometimes in my role, we get pushback because we may be on a critical incident and the public and the media wants all the details at one time. But we have to remember that our first priority is to successfully prosecute whatever crime may have occurred, but also safeguard the rights of the victim and make sure that they have the closure and peace that they deserve. And so that's probably the greatest challenge is, we deal with critical incidents on a daily basis, and we have to make sure that we balance those competing interests of transparency, but also safeguarding and making sure that we're not compromising our successful prosecution of a case in any way.
How do you deal with that? Like, okay, because on just my, just being a regular neighbor in the neighborhood, and you're watching it unfold on TV, it's like when you see it and there's something comes out on the news or whatever, everybody is in your face because everybody says, thinking, oh, if I can get it first, if they can tell me first, how do you deal with it?
I think preparation is the number one thing. Sometimes you only have 5 minutes to prepare. Sometimes you might have 30 minutes to prepare, but you have to prepare. It's almost like a sport. If you don't practice and you don't put a game plan together, then you're not going to win. In these circumstances, you have to set yourself up for success. You have to prepare in the best way you know how so that you don't compromise anything in any way. And so that's what I attempt to do. When I arrive at a critical incident, I immediately make contact with the watch commander. I gather all the facts that I know. There may be situations where this is a fact that we know at this time, but that fact may change in the future as the investigation continues. So what I try to do is I try to share only the things that I know to be true, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to retract anything. If we have to retract things on a frequent basis, that erodes trust with the public. And once you've eroded that trust, it takes a lot of time to get it back. It's like a relationship. When you are with your spouse and you're building trust in your relationship, it takes time to build that trust. But if that trust is broken, it takes even more time to build it back. So what we want to do is we don't want to do anything that could erode the trust with the public. So preparation is absolutely critical in these sensitive environments or incidents that we deal with.
I want to end this a little bit more personal. I've known you for a long time. And did you know back then, Steven, that you had like a little hint that it was going to lead you to where you are? I remember, Steven, that you pretended that you had the microphone in your hand and it was a bad storm. I'll never forget it. And I don't know why. I guess there's moments and that you don't realize that impact other people. But I noticed, and it was just like it was yesterday. It was storming. It was really bad. Roads were flooded. I don't remember what that storm was, but you were out in the middle of it, like doing social media, I guess, maybe out of boredom. I don't know, maybe trying to be informative or maybe making us all like laugh and not be afraid. But like you would be out there and pretending you had your microphone and reporting live and doing it yourself and out there. So you actually, it was kind of manifested, really, if you want to look at it.
So you're talking about the 1,000-year flood in 2015. That was actually very spontaneous. It had rained a lot. We were dealing with flooding all over the area. And I was just, back then I may have even been a teenager. But what I realized is everybody's stuck in their home. We're all told not to go anywhere. And what I thought is, you always have Jim Cantori with the Weather Channel. And anytime Jim comes to town, bad stuff is about to happen. So I basically imitated Jim Cantori in this flood. And I did it in a way to kind of, I guess, give people information, but also to make people laugh. I had no idea that I would end up where I am today. It was definitely not my plan. And what I found in my life is, you have your plans and God has his. And if you want to make God laugh, tell him what you want to do. And, the way in which I've, reached the position that I'm in has been a God thing. And I'm grateful for it. And it's something that I try to keep in my head. There's a lot of times in life where you may feel like you're alone or, God's not looking out for you. But I can tell you in my life, I felt those ways, but it's led to me to where I am. And in my role that I'm in right now, it's the most rewarding position I've ever held. And I plan to be here as long as the sheriff would have me because I see every day the real impact that we make in a positive way for the people that we serve.
We are very proud of you, our community, because you have grown up here in Summerville and we've watched you, and you just really do live your life of an example, a great example for those, looking young or old or whatever. So we're really proud of that. Is there anything that you would like to add before we wrap this up?
I think the biggest thing is just chase your dreams. And sometimes you don't know what that dream is. Sometimes it takes a lot of contemplation and discernment to discover what that dream is. But no matter if you know what it is today or it takes you 10 years to find it, continue chasing it and put your trust in God. And I have no doubt that He will put you exactly where He wants you to be, where you can make the biggest impact.
Okay, I'm going to let Steven go because he has a lot of work to do. I got people to talk to, but we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.